My wife said, "His family is so trashy, I apologized to my parents for his behavior." I replied, "Okay." I waited until dessert was served at her family dinner. Then I quietly gave her father the paid in full mortgage statement for their house, a gift from my trashy family. When her mother started crying, Simon, 36, male, had been with Amelia, 34, for 10 years, married for 7. Our life in Madison, Wisconsin, was a carefully curated performance of her sophisticated tastes. We lived in a stunning modern condo in the Marquette neighborhood, a space filled with minimalist art and furniture that had been featured in a local design magazine. I was a systems engineer for a satellite communications firm, earning a steady $120,000 a year. Amelia was a private art consultant for high net worth individuals, a career that brought her a fluctuating income of around $160,000 and placed her at the center of the city's cultural elite. Our social life was a calendar of her clients, gallery openings, and dinners at exclusive restaurants like El Toil with her friends, Liam and Qley, who saw my engineering work as a respectable but unexciting profession. Don't miss the twist. Subscribe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. The opportunity that would ultimately change the course of my life arrived on a crisp autumn morning. It was a formal offer letter from a private space exploration startup in Huntsville, Alabama. They were building next-generation satellite constellations. They wanted me to lead their entire systems architecture division. It was a monumental career leap. The offer included a base salary of $220,000, a substantial stock option package, and full relocation assistance, including a new Lincoln Aviator as a company vehicle. I presented the offer to Amelia that evening, my voice filled with a genuine passion she hadn't heard in a long time. I described the challenge, the chance to be at the forefront of a new space race, the vision of a different kind of life. She listened with the polite, detached air of someone viewing a minor piece of art. "Huntsville?" she asked, a delicate frown forming. "It's in the deep South, Simon. There's no culture, no society." She shook her head, her tone final. "My entire client base is here in the Midwest. I'm on the board of the art museum. You can't expect me to throw that away for your little rocket club." A few days after a brief visit from my parents, who ran a large and successful commercial trucking company in rural Wisconsin, she delivered the final verdict. I overheard her on the phone with Qley. "His family is so trashy," she said, her voice dripping with disdain, loud and unsophisticated. "I apologized to my parents for his behavior." Update 1. I quietly accepted the Huntsville offer the next morning. Her comment about my family was not just an insult. It was a diagnosis of our marriage. My family, with their calloused hands and booming laughs, had built a multi-million-dollar business from the ground up. Their trashiness was the authenticity of hard work, something she couldn't comprehend. She continued her campaign of quiet condescension, oblivious to my decision. Over drinks with Liam and Qley, she sighed dramatically. "Simon has this strange obsession with moving to Alabama," she said, her voice laced with a gentle pity. "He wants to take a job at some obscure startup. I'm worried he's having a midlife crisis." Liam, a wealth manager who catered to old money, nodded sagely. "You need stability, man. Her career is a sure thing." Qley added, "She needs a partner who understands her world, Simon." They saw me as a man veering off a well-paved road. I offered no defense. I had already begun my own logistical maneuvers. I opened a new set of private bank accounts. I spent my evenings researching modern homes in the quiet, wooded suburbs of Huntsville. I also had a long, frank conversation with my father. I told him everything. He listened, his silence more comforting than any words. He knew, from his own business dealings, that Amelia's old Madison society parents were struggling financially, something she went to great lengths to hide. Without telling me his exact plan, he simply said, "Don't worry, son. Character always reveals itself in the end." Update 2. I chose a Sunday morning to make my decision final. The condo was filled with a sterile, museum-like silence. "Amelia, I've accepted the position in Huntsville," I stated. "I'm moving in 2 months." Her face, which had been relaxed as she scrolled through an art auction catalog, hardened. "You actually went through with it, after I told you how damaging it would be to our life." "I did," I confirmed. "This is the most important work I could ever do." "Your work?" She scoffed. And what about my life? What about the world I have built for us? The world you built for yourself. I corrected, my voice even. I was just a resident. She stood up, her eyes blazing with a cold fire. Then you can go have your dusty, backwater fantasy alone. You choose that, or you choose me. You don't get both. I thought of my trashy family, of their quiet strength and her profound disrespect for it. The choice was the easiest I had ever made. I choose my work, I answered. The following week, she insisted we attend one last family dinner at her parents' house, a beautiful but slightly faded colonial in a wealthy suburb. It was for appearances, she said. It was a final command performance, I agreed. The stage was being set. Update 3. The family dinner was a masterclass in passive aggression. Amelia treated me with a cloying, condescending kindness, a performance for her parents. After the main course, as dessert was being served, I stood up. I walked over to her father, a proud but wary man, and handed him a simple, elegant envelope. Sir, I said, my family wanted to offer you a small gift. He opened it, his expression puzzled. Inside was the official, paid-in-full mortgage statement for their home. He stared at it, his face paling. Simon, what is this? He whispered. My parents were aware of your financial difficulties. I explained, my voice calm and clear for everyone to hear. They wanted to help. They said family takes care of family. Her mother began to cry, silent tears of shock and relief. Amelia's face, which had been a mask of triumphant composure, shattered. The room was silent, the air thick with the unspoken truth. I placed my napkin on the table, nodded to her parents, and walked out of the house, leaving the wreckage of her lies behind me. Update 4. 6 months in Huntsville was like stepping onto a different planet. The intellectual energy of the city, a place built by rocket scientists, was intoxicating. My work was more challenging and more fulfilling than I could have ever imagined. My team was a collection of the brightest minds in the world, and we were building the future of communication. My new home was a beautiful, modern house with a large backyard that bordered a nature preserve. The Lincoln Aviator was a smooth, quiet ride, perfect for the long drives to the test facilities. I had found a quiet, focused life, far from the performative world I had left behind. My team successfully deployed our first prototype satellite. The company was thrilled. I was promoted to senior lead architect and given a $75,000 bonus. One evening, I was on the phone with my father, telling him about the success. I thought of Amelia's insult. His family is so trashy. The memory no longer stung. It was a reminder of the profound gap between her perception of value and the real thing. Update 5. A major aerospace trade journal, Space News, ran a feature story on our company's successful launch. The article included a profile of my team, with my new title, and a quote about the future of satellite technology. The article was a public validation of the new life I had chosen. It circulated online, and the shockwaves eventually reached Madison. Amelia's emails began that night. Senior lead architect, you let me believe it was a junior engineering role, one accused. You planned this all along to humiliate me, another claimed. Then came the call from Qley. Her voice was thick with an apology. Simon, man, we were so wrong, she said. Amelia painted this picture of you having a breakdown, of you running away from a successful life. We saw that article. We finally heard from her parents what your family did for them. We had no idea. My own family, who had known the truth all along, were simply proud. The verifiable, public truth had finally silenced her private, manipulative lies. Update 6. She appeared on my doorstep in Huntsville a month later. She had flown in unannounced, a desperate pilgrimage to the life she had so carelessly dismissed. She looked smaller, her usual confident energy replaced by a brittle, anxious uncertainty. Simon, she began, her voice soft, I was wrong. About everything? What were you wrong about, Amelia? I asked, my voice flat. I was afraid, she said, tears welling in her eyes. I was so worried about my parents, about our status. I couldn't see the incredible thing you were building. I can change. I can move here. I can be the partner you deserve. I looked at her, and the memory of her face at that final dinner, the moment her carefully constructed world shattered, was as clear as the stars in the Alabama sky. You didn't just lie to me, Amelia, I said. You were ashamed of me, of my family. The same family that saved yours from financial ruin. I was desperate, she insisted. No, I replied calmly. You were cruel. There is no foundation to rebuild on. I stepped back inside. Goodbye, Amelia. Update 7, her rejection fueled a final, vindictive act. In our divorce proceedings, she attempted to claim a significant portion of my stock options, arguing that our shared life in Madison had provided the stable foundation for my career move. It was a pathetic, transparent legal maneuver. My lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense attorney from a top Huntsville firm, was prepared. He submitted a detailed timeline of her documented opposition to my move, including sworn affidavits from Liam and Qley detailing her dismissive comments. He also presented a financial analysis showing that the asset used to pay off her parents' mortgage came entirely from my Trashy family's separate funds. The judge dismissed her claim in a single hearing, calling it frivolous and without merit. Update 8, a year passed. My work was my passion, and my life was full of a quiet, intellectual joy. I had been promoted to vice president of engineering. I was in a new, healthy relationship with a woman named Dr. Hannah Sterling, a brilliant astrophysicist I had met at a NASA conference. Our connection was built on a shared sense of wonder and a deep, mutual respect. One evening, a final email from Amelia arrived. Her parents, now financially stable, had insisted she get therapy. She had left the art world and was working for a non-profit. I built my life around a set of false values, she wrote. You and your family showed me what real value is. I am sorry for the pain I caused. I replied with a short, polite message. I wish you peace. I blocked her email address. Final update, several months later, I was the guest of honor at a fundraiser for the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. After my speech, a distinguished older gentleman approached me. It was a retired 4-star general who sat on the board of my company. He shook my hand warmly. Simon, he began, his voice a low, gravelly rumble. I heard the story about how you left Madison. About that dinner party. He looked at me, his eyes clear and steady. In my world, you judge a person by their character, not their pedigree. Your wife called your family trashy. He chuckled, a deep, rumbling sound. She never understood that the people who build things, who move this country forward, they're the ones with the real class. She was so busy polishing the silver, she never realized the table was about to be repossessed. His words brought a quiet, final sense of resolution. I reflected on the lesson of the past 2 years. True class has nothing to do with art galleries or expensive restaurants. It has to do with character, with integrity, and with the quiet generosity of spirit that my Trashy family embodied. Amelia had spent her life curating a beautiful collection of empty frames. My family had taught me to focus on the picture inside. And in that simple, profound truth, I had finally found my peace.